I always have this niche of making things better in our industry, molecular biology and microbiology in general. I'm a microbiologist by education and training. When I moved in 2006 to the US, I had this niche of trying to get workflows better. So specialize in sample collection, sample preparation, and molecular biology, specifically nucleic acid purification. Few patents here and there, and then I decided to start my own company, Fahmawi DNA Technologies, based on 9 years hard work of diligent work, let's put it this way, to get a better way of collecting sample. And that was based on a personal experience that I wanted other parents not to go through. My daughter got sick when she was 2 years old, and they had to poke her like 20 times to get a blood sample, and that was not fun. Alhamdulillah, we got something going, and it's actually being used in COVID testing. It's from temperature stabilized sample collection. It's called iSwab microbiome. That's, again, for the doctor, I'm a father. Alhamdulillah, I'm very proud of our 2 girls and a boy. MashaAllah, they did really well for themselves. Me and my wife have nothing to do except doing science. No further ado, خلينا نبدأ في our topics. فهبدأ أنا في my topic, which is supply chain issues. It is very well unknown to quite a bit of people. فأنا عفوا راح أحكي بالإنجليزي وبالعربي، I will mix it. إن شاء الله ما تكونش جبرة بالأخير، يعني خربط الأمور، بس I'm gonna try my best to simplify things. So I'm gonna share my screen. Doctora, can you see my screen?
No, not yet. You have to choose share screen and then choose either the application, your PowerPoint.
Chrome tab, entire screen. So I'm going to do entire screen, and then...
There you go. Now we see you.
Yeah, so now, can you see now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to make it short and sweet. زي ما حكينا الجائحة هاي pandemic has hit everybody. So hit everybody at the same time. And what it did, it affected the supply chain issues, getting everybody being tested. So the WHO recommends saying, okay, test. طيب ماشي, okay. Saying test is really a good thing, because we need to be tested. So اللي عنده المرض can be quarantined, or even the asymptomatic people that they carry the virus, but they are not showing symptoms. Those are the most dangerous ones, because they don't know what they're doing, and they go around and spread the disease. The infection, the virus. And eventually people get the disease. So كتير مهم عملية التستنج. Because of the impact of this pandemic happening at a global stage, a strain happened to the supply chain. So احنا بنحكي there are 3 steps in the testing process. You take a sample. You basically the preferred sample is a swab. It goes way deep into the nose, or on the nostrils, or inside on the throat, and preferably taking 2 swabs. Because of lack of swabs, we ended taking just 1, and we're circulating it from one nostril to another. يعني بنفوته من فتحة مخار للفتحة الثانية, the same swab, which is not ideal. But because of the shortage of swab, we have to economize our process. بعديها تاخد swab, we put it in a media. We call it universal transport media, or viral transport media. This media basically to allow the virus to stay in kind of stable. Let's take that word, and you transport it then you do RNA extraction, which is the second step. بناخد ال RNA تبع الفيروس وبعدين we can analyze it with molecular acids, which actually can multiply the number of copies, so we can detect if the virus, even at low level, even if the virus at low copy number, by expanding the presence, or amplifying, let's use that way, amplifying its nucleic acid, we can detect it even at a lower level. وبعدين we can look at the data, saying, well, there is five copies, 10 copies, 100 copies. It will tell us if this person has the virus or not, and if they are actually doesn't help with the state, but can help us the severity of the infection or the potential of spreading of the virus. Now, those are the basic steps. So collect, stabilize the sample, extract the RNA, get the viral RNA, and then run the assay. Now, what is behind it? What is involved in this process? We need somebody professional to do it. So لازم يكون a medical health professional who يلبس PPE, which is personal protection equipment. That includes a mask, a shield, a gown. كل هاي الأمور لازم تكون يعني الشخص, the person that takes the sample has to have them on him or her. So this is one step. Then we have to collect the sample as I described to you. And the other issue is then transporting the sample. الميديا اللي عندنا حاليا اللي a lot of people use requires refrigeration. لازم تنحط مع ice packs to be transported. So imagine, what we're having an issue with are fishy enough PPEs, because it's all over the world. It's coming through the whole process of testing. And then we don't have enough swabs, and we don't have enough media. That is what is the current media is. كمان ما عندناش enough ice packs we had an issue on ice packs shortage. So how we can think outside the box. عندنا مشكلة, عندنا pandemic, we have to do testing. So how can we help resolve this issue? One of the things that we talk about is this is basically the slide speaking about the different aspect of the supply chain issue from every angle of it. So what we need to enable self-collection, supervised or unsupervised. So نخلي إذا في medical professional available, let them supervise it. There is many ways. One of them is telemedicine. It's basically send the sample to somebody's home and supervise them while how they collect the samples to make sure that they collect a proper sample. Also, there are methods now being introduced that simplifies the process of collection. We need to start adopting those in a wider approach. الشغله هلا بنيجي بنطلع على السوابس, كمان عندنا مشكله ما فيش enough swabs. WHO, CDC, and a lot of people follow their guidelines. They specifically say don't use, only use swabs with nylon heads or synthetic nylon. That's actually an old science. So we can use any sterile swab, and I will explain to you. This is a technology that we have developed that does not require any swab, any specific swab. You can use basically cotton swabs with wooden sticks. That reasoning for the WHO and CDC and the FDA that requires nylon swabs and synthetic swabs, we call it something we call leachables. So basically there are material on cotton swabs and wood sticks that can be transported into the media that can affect the assay downstream. We call them, again, leachables. So that is a problem that in the technology that we have invented and Maui, isolated microbiome, actually resolves it. So there is no need for such thing. Specifically use nylon transport media. We understand this is a new science. Not everybody will follow it. So there is another option. Is basically 3D printing is becoming popular. So why not utilize that? Or molded swab. So we can use molded swab. It's basically a full swab, injected molded. There are several iterations of them. Actually, ourselves, we are going to introduce one in August, mid-August. Also, the other aspect is using an old traditional media, which is UTM. There's few issues with UTM that is being used now. One of the issues is they do not inactivate the virus. So basically, when it gets to the lab, it adds another level of complexity of processing the sample. لازم يعني safety level of handling with these samples has to be a high level, mostly class 2 or class 3. So because they do not inactivate the virus. So also on top of it, you have to process the sample within 72 hours. Otherwise, the sample doesn't. The virus is not stable. So most probably people that wait longer or they don't have proper transportation with cold packs, they will end up getting false negative results, which is very well documented nowadays. So how do we get out of this? There is new technologies, new media. Absolutely try to open your mind as a scientist. So this is speaking to the people processing the samples and collecting samples or recommending sample collection for these kinds of assays. Look for other types of media. Validate everything that is available in the market and have them marked, have them graded. Okay, this is, if I don't have this one type of media, I will use this because, I've looked at stability. I've looked at viral load. I looked at inactivation. I looked at different criteria that you can create for yourself. And alhamdulillah, في بلادنا and our area, there is a lot of smart people, smart professionals and professors that they can actually create such a blueprint for selecting different types of media. One thing I would definitely look into is try as much as possible to work with a media that will allow room temperature stabilization. So what that means, it will allow the maintaining the viral load within extended period of time without the need of ice packs, which will come to it. The other thing that we found out is actually tubes are in shortage. So, okay, you created the media, you need a tube to put it in, test tube. Again, try to use any type of tube. Try to use, also again, the bags that we use for transport, that was an issue. Use any reclosable bags. Do not be a stickler on it has to have the biohazard label or and the best way to handle this is to make it local. Try to make these kind of things available locally. Again, for the transport aspect of things, room temperature is critical. Microbial activity in activation is important point. So this is another aspect of processing the sample. When we collect a sample and we want to send it to a lab and process it, we need the answer to be quick. Because if there is a decision has to be taken. Do we quarantine this person or we'll ask them to self-quarantine or we send them to the hospital? Has to happen quite quick because every day that this person doesn't know if they have it or they don't, it's a potential transfer of infection to other people. So basically, it is important to make the testing quick, and to make it quick, we need to enable the labs to process the sample in a very safe environment. So microbial inactivity is important. There is quite a bit of toxic media out there. When I say toxic, it means that has guanidinium thiocyanate. try to avoid those. So simply, let's put it this way. There is other non-toxic media. And again, we talk about the safety of processing the sample in the lab. How we can get high quality viral RNA. There is manual and automated processes out there. There is a lot of extraction kits. You have to, again, try to select which are the best ones and validate them. Again, similar to the media. But the best approach is to optimize your assay without even doing the extraction step. And this is really depends. It's specifically it's the sample collection media. So we go back on the sample collection media, which is very, very important to use the proper one to help you advance your testing and increase it. The extraction RNA extraction process, it's required at this point. There's few actually assays that's developed without the need of it. It requires quite a bit of time and processing and manpower. Removing that from the complexity of the workflow will actually add more power to the processing and getting results out much faster. So I'm not going to talk about it. There is next generation sequencing and there is loop mediated isothermal amplification. It is too technical. This is not the topic of my presentation, but those assays has been shown to accept with certain type of media samples without the need of extraction. So you can do more samples and faster time. And of course, it makes it cheaper without the extraction. At the end of the day, any assay requires a good sample. So really, we go back to the virus stabilization media that you use, and it's very, very important to look into that in a more detailed manner. Not just I'm going to follow what China sends me or Italy sends me or the US sends me. All the medias we have been using is in the past, currently as well, has to be questioned. We have to look at it, how efficient it is before we run it into our assay locally. Remember, in Europe, in March, February, the temperature is not bad. It's actually cold. In our area could be hot. So that might affect the quality of the sample even before you collect it, the collection sample. So I strongly recommend that we look into these things and develop a strategy around what type of sample collection we can use. Simple. If you don't have a good sample, you're not going to get sales. So garbage in, garbage out. This is a very well-known concept. Now, the last step, which is sequencing, another way of running samples and reducing the cost and actually minimizing the supply chain effect is sample pooling. So basically, because we want to test as much as as many people out there, you just pool the samples together for 30 individual or 20 or 10 that they don't have symptoms, and you run the assay. This is negative, done. Those 10 people, we know they're negative. You just let them, basically, the results are released. Now, if out of the 10 we get one, we go back and test those 10. But what it enables us doing this, we do more testing and faster testing. If we pool samples of asymptomatic people or people that have no fever, basically none of the COVID-19, it will actually make us do more, reduce the amount of test, the cost of test. On top of that, basically, at the end of the day, it's actually will give us results faster. This is what I want to say. Just run out of my chain of thought. So Lesson learned. Things that we learn, we're still learning through. We're not done with the COVID pandemic yet. We cannot think individually. So nobody's in isolation. You cannot say, "Oh, I don't have it. It's I'm good." It doesn't work like that. So we need to work together. We have to be prepared. Make it a culture thing. When I say a culture thing, it's a lot of schools, a lot of universities teach CPR, teach fire drills. This is a crisis, so we need to teach at a level where level of responsibility. So when like what we're experiencing, wearing a mask won't be something we argue about. It's something that we just do to help minimize the spread of the virus. Other aspects. So in microbiology, in our field, number one rule when you work with specimens is wash your hands with soap and water. So that's a common thing, so a common sense, I would say. Also, we need to enable innovation and collaborations. So when I say that, enable innovation, we have, again, we have a hugely respected scientists and researchers in our areas. And we don't have to go back to the West for looking for innovations. The innovations are within. Help actually get these enabled and get them front center. And collaboration doesn't hurt with other scientists. And I think we need to work more on the networking aspect of things from a scientific standpoint. So our scientific community in the Middle East knows what's going on, what is the latest advancements. A lot of new technologies are not in the public domain. So you cannot just rely on publications and white papers. There are some of them that are actually being done and used. You can be exposed to it at a higher level. Again, make it local. If you can't make it local, you can't make everything, of course, but at least have the blueprints to be ready to implement. And this is more talk, it's a high level talk, our recommendation. So just make the blueprints and let your scientists, bright minds, and experts be involved in doing this. So it is part of the culture thing. Be prepared. It's we go back to the basics. Be prepared. We're not going to be in isolation. So I try to describe to you one of the major things that we actually, I would say, alhamdulillah, and Maui, so far we're successful with, is we assume that everything associated with anything is going to be fine. It's going to be, it's going to be done. We might have back orders, shortages, but we do not think about the human factor in here. If we do not work together and help each other out, the very people that are making these products might get sick, and you will not get anything. So this is why we have to go to the basics, and we have to work together, make it a culture thing. We do a lot of things to maintain our staff healthy and continue producing sample collection for local need as well as a global need. I hope you find this helpful. I want to thank you. And this basically would be my last slide. And I'm open for any question.